Hello all, welcome to Vinod Kumar YouTube channel. In this video I am going to make the chapter number 10 of class 7th. The name of the chapter is 18th century political formations. If you look at maps 1 and 2 closely, you will see something significant happening in the subcontinent during the first half of the 18th century. Notice how the boundaries of the Mughal Empire were reshaped by the emergence of a number of independent kingdoms. By 1765, notice how another power, the British, had successfully grabbed major chunks of territory in eastern India. What these maps tell us is that political conditions in 18th century India changed quite dramatically and within a relatively short span of time. In this chapter we will read about the emergence of new political groups in the subcontinent during the first half of the 18th century, roughly from 1707, when Aurangzeb died, till the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. The crisis of the empire and the later Mughals. In chapter 4 you saw how the Mughal Empire reached the height of its success and started facing a variety of crises towards the closing years of the 17th century. These were caused by a number of factors. Emperor Aurangzeb had depleted the military and financial resources of his empire by fighting a long war in the Deccan. Under his successors, the efficiency of the imperial administration broke down. It became increasingly difficult for the later Mughal emperors to keep a check on their powerful mansabdars. Nobles appointed as governors, subadars, often controlled the offices of revenue and military administration, Diwani and Faujdari, as well. This gave them extraordinary political, economic and military powers over vast regions of the Mughal Empire. As the governors consolidated their control over the provinces, the periodic remission of revenue to the capital declined. Peasant and Zamindari rebellions in many parts of northern and western India added to these problems. These revolts were sometimes caused by the pressures of mounting taxes. At other times they were attempts by powerful chieftains to consolidate their own positions. Mughal authority had been challenged by rebellious groups in the past as well. But these groups were now able to seize the economic resources of the region to consolidate their positions. The Mughal emperors after Aurangzeb were unable to arrest the gradual shifting of political and economic authority into the hands of provincial governors, local chieftains and other groups. In the midst of this economic and political crisis, the ruler of Iran, Nader Shah, sacked and plundered the city of Delhi in 1739 and took away immense amounts of wealth. This invasion was followed by a series of plundering raids by the Afghan ruler Ahmad Shah Abdali, who invaded North India 5 times between 1748 and 1761. Already under severe pressure from all sides, the empire was further weakened by competition amongst different groups of nobles. They were divided into 2 major groups or factions, the Iranis and Trinis, nobles of Turkish descent. For a long time, the later Mughal emperors were puppets in the hands of either one or the other of these 2 powerful groups. The worst possible humiliation came when 2 Mughal emperors, Taraksaya (1713–1719) and Alamgir II (1754–1759), were assassinated, and 2 others, Ahmad Shah (1748–1754) and Shah Alam II (1759–1816), were blinded by their nobles. Emergence of new states. With the decline in the authority of the Mughal emperors, the governors of large provinces, subadars, and the great zamindars consolidated their authority in different parts of the subcontinent. Through the 18th century, the Mughal Empire gradually fragmented into a number of independent, regional states. Broadly speaking, the states of the 18th century can be divided into 3 overlapping groups. 1. States that were old Mughal provinces like Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. Although extremely powerful, and quite independent, the rulers of these states did not break their formal ties with the Mughal emperor. 2. States that had enjoyed considerable independence under the Mughals as Wait and Jagirs. These included several Rajput principalities. 3. The last group included states under the control of Marathas, Sikhs and others like the Jats. These were of differing sizes and had seized their independence from the Mughals after a long drawn armed struggle. The Old Mughal provinces. Amongst the states that were carved out of the Old Mughal provinces in the 18th century, three stand out very prominently. These were Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. All three states were founded by members of the high Mughal nobility who had been governors of large provinces: Saadat Khan, Awadh; Murshid Quli Khan, Bengal; and Asaf Jah, Hyderabad. All three had occupied high mansabdari positions and enjoyed the trust and confidence of the emperors. Both Asaf Jah and Murshid Quli Khan held a Zat rank of 7,000 each, while Saadat Khan's Zat was 6,000. Hyderabad Nizam al-Mulk Asaf Jah, the founder of Hyderabad state, 1724 to 1748, was one of the most powerful members at the court of the Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar. He was entrusted first with the governorship of Awadh, and later given charge of the Deccan. As the Mughal governor of the Deccan provinces, during 1720–22 Asaf Jah had already gained control over its political and financial administration. Taking subsequent advantage of the turmoil in the Deccan and the competition amongst the court nobility, he gathered power in his hands, and became the actual ruler of that region. Asaf Jah brought skilled soldiers and administrators from northern India who welcomed the new opportunities in the south. He appointed mansabdars and granted jagirs. Although he was still a servant of the Mughal emperor, he ruled quite independently without seeking any direction from Delhi or facing any interference. The Mughal emperor merely confirmed the decisions already taken by the Nizam al-Mulk Asaf Jah. The state of Hyderabad was constantly engaged in a struggle against the Marathas to the west and with independent Telugu warrior chiefs, Nayakas, of the plateau. The ambitions of the Nizam al-Mulk Asaf Jah to control the rich textile-producing areas of the Coromandel coast in the east were checked by the British, who were becoming increasingly powerful in that region. See Map 2. Awadh. Burhan al-Mulk Saadat Khan was appointed Subadar of Awadh in 1722 and founded a state which was one of the most important to emerge out of the breakup of the Mughal Empire. Awadh was a prosperous region, controlling the rich alluvial Ganga plain and the main trade route between North India and Bengal. Burhan al-Mulk also held the combined offices of Subadari, Diwani and Faujdari. In other words, he was responsible for managing the political, financial and military affairs of the province of Awadh. Burhan al-Mulk tried to decrease Mughal influence in the Awadh region by reducing the number of office holders, jagirdars, appointed by the Mughals. He also reduced the size of jagirs, and appointed his own loyal servants to vacant positions. The accounts of jagirdars were checked to prevent cheating, and the revenues of all districts were reassessed by officials appointed by the Nawab's court. He seized a number of Rajput zamindaries and the agriculturally fertile lands of the Afghans of Rohilkhand. The state depended on local bankers and mahajans for loans. It sold the right to collect tax to the highest bidders. These revenue farmers, jagirdars, agreed to pay the state a fixed sum of money. Local bankers guaranteed the payment of this contracted amount to the state. In turn, the revenue farmers were given considerable freedom in the assessment and collection of taxes. These developments allowed new social groups, like moneylenders and bankers, to influence the management of the state's revenue system, something which had not occurred in the past. Bengal gradually broke away from Mughal control under Murshid Quli Khan, who was appointed as the Naib, deputy to the governor of the province. Although never a formal subadar, Murshid Quli Khan very quickly seized all the power that went with that office. Like the rulers of Hyderabad and Awadh, he also commanded the revenue administration of the state. In an effort to reduce Mughal influence in Bengal, he transferred all Mughal jagirdars to Orissa and ordered a major reassessment of the revenues of Bengal. Revenue was collected in cash with great strictness from all zamindars. As a result, many zamindars had to borrow money from bankers and moneylenders. Those unable to pay were forced to sell their lands to larger zamindars. The formation of a regional state in 18th century Bengal therefore led to considerable change amongst the zamindars. The close connection between the state and bankers, noticeable in Hyderabad and Awadh as well, was evident in Bengal under the rule of Aliverdi Khan, r. 1740 to 1756. During his reign the banking house of Jagat Seth became extremely prosperous. If we take a bird's-eye view, we can detect three common features amongst these states. First, though many of the larger states were established by erstwhile Mughal nobles, they were highly suspicious of some of the administrative systems that they had inherited, in particular the Jagirdari system. Second, their method of tax collection differed. Rather than relying upon the officers of the state, all three regimes contracted with revenue farmers for the collection of revenue. The practice of Jagirdari, thoroughly disapproved of by the Mughals, spread all over India in the 18th century. Their impact on the countryside differed considerably. The third common feature in all these regional states was their emerging relationship with rich bankers and merchants. These people lent money to revenue farmers, received land as security and collected taxes from these lands through their own agents. Throughout India the richest merchants and bankers were gaining a stake in the new political order. The Waitan Jagirs of the Rajputs, many Rajput kings, particularly those belonging to Amber and Jodhpur, had served under the Mughals with distinction. In exchange, they were permitted to enjoy considerable autonomy in their Waitan Jagirs. In the 18th century, these rulers now attempted to harvesting structures and other buildings. The Chittorgarh fort contained many water bodies varying from talabs, ponds, to khandis, wells, bailis, step wells, etc. Sawai Jai Singh, the ruler of Amber, constructed 5 astronomical observatories, one each in Delhi, Jaipur, Ujjain, Mathura and Varanasi. Commonly known as Jantar Mantar, these observatories had various instruments to study heavenly bodies. Figure 4c. Jantar Mantar in Jaipur from the 1740s put severe pressure on these principalities and checked their further expansion, extend their territories by seizing portions of imperial territories neighboring their Waitans. Nagaur was conquered and annexed to the House of Jodhpur, while Amber seized large portions of Bandi. Sawai Raja Jai Singh founded his new capital at Jaipur and was given the Subadari of Agra in 1722. The campaigns into Rajasthan from the 1740s put severe pressure on these principalities and checked their further expansion. Seizing independence, the Sikhs, the organization of the Sikhs into a political community during the 17th century, see Chapter 8, helped in regional state building in the Punjab. Several battles were fought by Guru Gobind Singh against the Rajput and Mughal rulers, both before and after the institution of the Khalsa in 1699. After his death in 1708, the Khalsa rose in revolt against the Mughal authority under Banda Bahadur's leadership, declared their sovereign rule by striking coins in the name of Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh, and established their own administration between the Satluj and the Jamuna. Banda Bahadur was captured in 1715 and executed in 1716. Under a number of able leaders in the 18th century, the Sikhs organized themselves into a number of bands called Jathas, and later on Mistals. Their combined forces were known as the Grand Army, Dal Khalsa. The entire body used to meet at Amritsar at the time of Baisakhi and Diwali to take collective decisions known as resolutions of the Guru Matas. A system called Rakhi was introduced, offering protection to cultivators on the payment of a tax of 20% of the produce. Guru Gobind Singh had inspired the Khalsa with the belief that their destiny was to rule Raj Karga Khalsa. Their well-knit organization enabled them to put up a successful resistance to the Mughal governors first and then to Ahmad Shah of Delhi, who had seized the rich province of the Punjab and the Sarkar of Sirhind from the Mughals. The Khalsa declared their sovereign rule by striking their own coin again in 1765. Significantly, this coin bore the same inscription as the one on the orders issued by the Khalsa in the time of Banda Bahadur. The Sikh territories in the late 18th century extended from the Indus to the Jamuna, but they were divided under different rulers. One of them, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, reunited these groups and established his capital at Lahore in 1799. The Maratha kingdom was another powerful regional kingdom to arise out of a sustained opposition to Mughal rule. Shivaji, 1627–1680, carved out a stable kingdom with the support of powerful warrior families, Deshmukhs. Groups of highly mobile, peasant pastoralists, Kunbis, provided the backbone of the Maratha army. Shivaji used these forces to challenge the Mughals in the peninsula. After Shivaji's death, effective power in the Maratha state was wielded by a family of Chitpavan Brahmanas who served Shivaji's successors as Peshwa, or a principal minister. Pune became the capital of the Maratha kingdom under the Peshwas. The Marathas developed a very successful military organization. Their success lay in bypassing the fortified areas of the Mughals, by raiding cities and by engaging Mughal armies in areas where their supply lines and reinforcements could be easily disturbed. Between 1720 and 1761, the Maratha Empire expanded. It gradually chipped away at the authority of the Mughal Empire. Malwa and Gujarat were seized from the Mughals by the 1720s. By the 1730s, the Maratha king was recognized as the overlord of the entire Deccan Peninsula. He possessed the right to levy chauth and Surjmukhi in the entire region. After raiding Delhi in 1737, the frontiers of Maratha domination expanded rapidly, into Rajasthan and the Punjab in the north, into Bengal and Orissa in the east, and into Karnataka and the Tamil and Telugu countries in the south, see Map 1. These were not formally included in the Maratha Empire, but were made to pay tribute as a way of accepting Maratha sovereignty. Expansion brought enormous resources, but it came at a price. These military campaigns also made other rulers hostile towards the Marathas. As a result, they were not inclined to support the Marathas during the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. Alongside endless military campaigns, the Marathas developed an effective administrative system as well. Once conquest had been completed and Maratha rule was secure, revenue demands were gradually introduced taking local conditions into account. Agriculture was encouraged and trade revived. This allowed Maratha chiefs, Sardars, like Scindia of Gwalior, Gwad of Baroda and Bonsla of Nagpur the resources to raise powerful armies. Maratha campaigns into Malwa in the 1720s did not challenge the growth and prosperity of the cities in the region. Ujjain expanded under Scindia's patronage and or under Holkar's. By all accounts these cities were large and prosperous and functioned as important commercial and cultural centers. New trade routes emerged within the areas, controlled by the Marathas. The silk produced in the Chandri region now found a new outlet in Pune, the Maratha capital. Burhanpur, which had earlier participated in the trade between Agra and Surat, now expanded its hinterland to include Pune and Nagpur in the south and Lucknow and Allahabad in the east. The Jats, like the other states, the Jats consolidated their power during the late 17th and 18th centuries. Under their leader, Churiman, they acquired control over territories situated to the west of the city of Delhi, and by the 1680s they had begun dominating the region between the two imperial cities of Delhi and Agra. For a while they became the virtual custodians of the city of Agra. The Jats were prosperous agriculturists, and towns like Panipat and Balabgarh became important trading centers in the areas dominated by them. Under Siraj Mal the kingdom of Bharatpur emerged as a strong state. When Nader Shah sacked Delhi in 1739, many of the city's notables took refuge there. His son Jawahir Shah had 30,000 troops of his own and hired another 20,000 Maratha and 15,000 Sikh troops to fight the Mughals. While the Bharatpur fort was built in a fairly traditional style, at Dig the Jats built an elaborate garden palace combining styles seen at Amber and Agra. Its building